We use the metric system every day. There are 7 billion people on Earth, and all of them use meters, liters, and kilograms. Except they don't. About 1 in 7 people use the imperial system. These people live mainly in the United States, but also in places like Myanmar and Liberia. So why don't these people use the metric system, and will the world ever fully convert? Well, the metric system was invented by a French guy called Leonhard Euler. He wanted to create a system that was easy to understand and based on absolutes. That way, everyone could use it regardless of where they were or when they were born. Before this, people used a combination of imperial measurements and a mix of different units from various countries. This caused lots of confusion. Two people could agree to meet at 2 p.m., but one might be measuring time from their oven while the other measured from their phone. The French government liked the idea of a universal system, so they asked a team led by Adolphe Quetelet to make it happen. In 1837, the metric system was adopted by France and then spread to other countries through international agreements and the efforts of activists. However, some countries resisted. The UK didn't adopt the metric system until 1824, more than 30 years after France. And even then, they only did it partially. They still use miles, pounds, and pints today. But let's get back to the French. By 1875, most of the country was using metric. But there was still a small group of holdouts who preferred the traditional units. They were called les meters morts, or dead meters. The government decided to intervene and passed a law requiring everyone to use metric. This had a pretty big impact on one man named Georges Mouchy. Mouchy was a poor farmer who lived in a village in the south of France. One day he was at market and bought some wine and cheese. He paid for the items with metal coins. The next day, he went back to the market and returned the wine and cheese. He said that the wine was sour and the cheese was moldy. The shop owner agreed to take the items back, but instead of giving him metal coins, he gave him paper coupons. These were worth the value of what Mouchy had given back. Then, using these coupons, Mouchy went to another store and bought some bread. This happened again and again. Eventually, Mouchy ended up with a pile of coupons, but they weren't very useful because they couldn't be exchanged for metal coins. In fact, they were practically worthless. This story isn't true. It's just a fun way to illustrate how the metric system almost took over the world. There are some surprising facts about imperial versus metric. For example, in Britain, the Speaker of the House is not allowed to speak. If he does, his seat is considered vacant and a new speaker must be elected. Another fact is that the Speaker presides over debates in the House of Commons and is not allowed to participate in them. Instead, he or she maintains order and decorum and makes sure that the rules are followed. The Speaker is also not allowed to speak unless there is a formal vote, in which case he or she may speak to cast a tie-breaking vote. Finally, the Speaker is not allowed to speak to members of the royal family. This is because the Speaker is not allowed to speak to anyone while the House is in session unless he or she has permission to do so. So will the world ever fully convert to metric? Well, it's unlikely that the US will convert anytime soon. Even if they did, there would still be holdouts in places like Myanmar and Liberia. So I wouldn't count on it. What do you think though? Should we stick with imperial or convert to metric? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about strange facts, stay tuned for more updates. See you next time.